Welcome into the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. I'm Andrew Putters. As always, we got a special one-off episode for you today. Got us coming all the way from Fort Bragg, Georgia. Jonathan Shuskey, former 20-year military veteran turned incoming freshman at Christian Brothers University, collegiate golfer. Can't wait to get to it, so we're going to get right after it. But before we do that, guys, do us a favor real quick. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, share with your friends. Share on all the social medias. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. As always, the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast is brought to you by Rotoballer.com, the best place in the world for your daily fantasy needs. If you go over there and sign up for the premium package, make sure you use that promo code NICE, N-I-C-E. That'll get you a special discount on the premium PGA package. Thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do. Without further ado, Jonathan Shuskey.
Of all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days, the game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that I'd give it one good try. But that was my first big mistake.
All right, so let's bring in Jonathan Shuskey. Jonathan, my name's Andrew Poor. I go by Andrew Putters, and man, it's great to have you on the show on the Turn Fantasy Golf Pod. And just can't wait to hear your story. You popped up on my Twitter feed. I guess last week ago, whenever you got named as one of the newest trend, the Barstool athletes. First, let's go into that Barstool athlete. How cool is that? Did you reach out to them? They reach out to you? How'd that go down?
Yeah, so I saw I saw the action, starting like July the 1st, with all the NIL stuff, and so I remember seeing the video that Dave did at Barstool. I guess somebody reached out to him and said they wanted to be the first Barstool athlete, and they kind of jumped into that and said, all right, we're gonna make this a thing, and then Riggs posted something about it over there, and they had signed a couple of golfers. I think it was they had like a gal from Auburn, one from Mississippi State, and I think I don't remember where the other guy was from. I think he might have been from Mississippi State too. But so I remember as kind of a joke, a buddy of mine texted me and he was like, "Man, you ought to reach out to him." So I remember like a day or two, like July 2nd or the 3rd, whatever it was. I sent a tweet and I tagged Riggs in it. And I said, imagine being the company that signs a 20-year Army veteran on July 4th weekend. And Riggs retweeted it like 10 minutes later, and he was like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant, we want you on the team." And so then I got an email, and he followed me, and like Foreplay, the podcast, like all those folks started following me, and I got an email that weekend from Dave, and they kind of explained, what they were trying to put together and how that was going to work. And it's still kind of a work in progress. And it just kind of went from there. Like my Twitter account went from, I had like, I don't know, maybe 250 followers to, I think I've got almost 600 now, but somebody told me about the Twitter analytics stuff. And so I signed into that, and I think my Twitter feed had like 2 million views in about a week. So, if nothing else comes from the Barstool thing, just the marketing kind of thing and kind of getting your name out there was worth it, I guess.
Yeah, that is so cool. Just from the perspective of just kind of as a joke, it started, and here we go, right? And like you said, it's all work in progress. All the NIL stuff's all real new to everybody, so I don't even know really how all that works. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you a story real quick as we're starting this show out. I turned 38 last weekend. I saw you're like 39 years old, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay,
39, yep.
So 20 years ago, I was going into my freshman year at Tusculum College to play golf, and we were playing our first collegiate golf tournament at somewhere like Old Hickory or Lake Hickory, somewhere in Hickory, North Carolina. It's a Billy Joe Patton Collegiate that was hosted by Lenore Ryan College. And, back then, and I don't know if they still might do this today, but, a lot of golf tournaments back then, you
you played 36 holes the first day. So they do like a shotgun start at 8:00 and you play 36 holes and you come back the next day and play 18. So
Yep.
and our coach was notorious for getting there first, like at 8:00 in the morning. He'd get there like right at daylight, 6:00 in the morning. So since he got there so early, we were all able to hit on our own range spots because normally each team gets like one range slot on the driving range. So we're hitting there, and I was notorious back in those days as I was a freshman, like I said, 18 years old. And I'd hit these shanks and I'm not talking about like just a dribble. I'm talking like a 50-yard dead right, like I aimed right and hit a shank. And so we're sitting there hitting, and we're hitting on mats too, and it's like 40 degrees in September, and I cold shank with a lob wedge, and I said, oh, I got to hit a different club. So I pull out the 9-iron and hit a 9-iron, 150, 155. Next one, dead shank, just dead right, probably hit it 100 yards, dead right. And so we walked 36 holes. I think the first round I shot like 77, and the second round maybe like 69 or something. I actually played pretty good. And we got in our van after the 36 holes and the Catawba University van. I've never told this story in public. So the Catawba University van is sitting right next to ours, and they're sitting there and like, man, coach, what happened over there? And it's like, craziest thing, man. They pulled in this morning, a ball went right through their windshield from the driving range. So my 9-iron shank went dead in the parking lot, went through Catawba University's or Catawba College, I guess back then, right through their windshield. And so we go out that next day, day 2. We went tee times, and I'll never forget. I was playing with Andrew MacArthur, who was the reigning Scottish amateur champion. We go to make the turn, and our athletic director actually took us on this golf tournament. And I see him walk out of the clubhouse, walk straight to the green. And he says, come on, Andrew, we're done. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're done. He goes, we're canceling day 2 because, somebody has just bombed New York. So this is September 11th, 2001.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was my first college golf tournament experience. We had the huge cookout there. It was like 140 golfers sitting there in dead silence watching a 13-inch black and white TV. So obviously, the reason I told that story is my experience 20 years ago is much different than your experience 20 years ago. So you're 39. I read that on Twitter. That's the first thing I noticed was 20-year army vet, or military vet. And obviously that day, I'm not saying it shook you any different than it did me, but you're going into this college life now, college golf life now. What was it like 20 years ago? What was that day, I guess, for you like?
Yeah, so I showed up at Fort Benning on September the 4th, 2001. And I was at a place there at Fort Benning called 30th AG, which is like that's kind of the reception place for all the new basic trainees, and you're there for a couple of weeks, and they kind of get you used to the, putting a uniform on and how to wear it, and getting in line for chow in the mornings and at lunch and in the evening. And then once you're kind of through that phase, you go down to your basic training unit and you get started. So I remember got there on September the 4th. The very next morning, they kind of marched us through a line and shaved everybody's head. And then a week later, on September 11th, we were in line. We had just had breakfast. We were in line to get our head shaved again. I'm not really sure why they had to shave it again 6 days later, but they did. And so we were standing there in line waiting our turn to go into the barber shop. And I remember I was right outside the barber shop waiting my turn to go in, and they were listening on the radio to whatever, and breaking news came on the radio, and they talked about a plane that crashed into the World Trade Center. And I don't think any of us really knew. I think we all just kind of thought it was an accident. Like, we couldn't talk about it anyway because we're standing there at parade rest, just scared to death to talk or move or do anything at that point because you've been in the Army for 6 days. And so, a little bit of time went by, and another plane crashed into the World Trade Center. So they started turning the TVs on there in the little lobby area, and we stood there. I'm not sure that any other basic training has ever been like the way it was that morning. We all just kind of stood there, like the drill sergeants and soldiers and the civilians that were working there, everybody. We just stood there and watched it for probably 30 or 45 minutes, and nobody said anything. But I think for most of us, and not just for us, the guys that had just joined the Army, but for those drill sergeants who were had been around for a while, I think some of the same thoughts were probably going through all of our heads because, those guys hadn't been to combat either. And I think we started putting it all together pretty quickly, that the terms of our enlistment had just changed dramatically. I remember when I went into the recruiting office a few weeks before that, they said, "Hey, do you want to be in the infantry?" And I said, "What's that?" And they said, "You get to shoot stuff and blow stuff up. And, when you're not out training, you hang out in your barrack room and play video games all day." And I said, "Yeah, sign me up, man. It sounds like a pretty good life." And I realized that day that it probably wasn't going to be that, the way they had described it. So, yeah, a little bit different feeling being there. But I tell folks all the time, like wherever you were that day and whatever you were doing, whether you were, in line to get a haircut at basic training or at a college golf tournament or at work or, having breakfast at home, whatever you were doing, everybody, regardless of what you do in life, everybody's lives changed somehow that day. And, I think it's one of those days that I think everybody will always remember where they were when that happened. But for me, I tell folks, if I had joined the Army a week later, I don't necessarily know that I would have gone through with it. I don't know that I would have enlisted. And so I've got a lot of respect for people who joined post 9/11 because, I mean, they knew exactly what they were signing up for, and they knew that, when they raised their hand and they swore in that they were probably going to go to Afghanistan or later on to Iraq or whatever. So I didn't know that when I raised my hand and enlisted. So I've got a lot of respect for those guys. But yeah, it was a weird day to say the least. A lot of things changed that day.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess are you technically, are you retiring from active duty this year, or or are you going to be active, or you reserve, or how's that work?
Yeah, so I'm retiring, but what's going to happen? So I'll sign out here at Fort Benning on August the 1st. That'll be my last day. But I've got leave that I've banked away for a while now, so I'll still technically be active duty all the way up until September the 30th, which will be my official retirement date. But I'll be starting the process of growing the beard out and play. I'll be playing college golf while I'm on leave for that couple of months. And yeah, August 1st is that's the last day for me. So not officially, but I'll be on leave, like I said. But yeah, August 1st will be the last day I put it on. So
yeah. So is this so have you always been an avid golfer and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say I've always been an avid golfer. I started playing when I was probably 12, and just a group of guys at my church that played golf on Sundays when church was over, and I wanted to hang out and I wanted to be one of the guys. So my dad, we went to the pawn shop and he got me a set of clubs, and I started hanging out with those guys and playing, and never took any lessons or anything. Like, just figured it out, man. We had a couple of courses there locally that we played at, and we had a couple of little par 3 courses. Like, we had one little par 3 course there that was maybe 10 minutes up the road, and I think the longest hole on that course was like 108 yards. So we'd go walking around out there with a couple of wedges and a putter, and that's where I learned the game and where I learned how to play. When I joined the Army, I think when I joined the Army, I was, I could break 80. I was consistently in the 76 to 83 range, somewhere in there. And then joined the Army and didn't really have time for a long time. Didn't have, time or money, because in 2001, 2002, privates didn't make a whole heck of a lot of money. Still don't really, but it's a little better now than it was 20 years ago. But I didn't have the time or the money, man. We were just too busy training and too busy, with deployments and stuff like that. So around 2008 is when I decided, I want to go play golf again. And I remember I went and bought a set of I think they were Olimar, it was the full set though, like driver through putter, man. And I just went and bought a set of those off the rack and went out. I think the first time I went out, I shot like 94 or something. And that was probably with a couple of mulligans here or there or whatever. I mean, it wasn't pretty. And so I played a little bit with some guys there in Hawaii, where I was stationed. And finally I got to the point where I was, kind of I don't know, I was mid 80s or whatever. I was kind of hovering in that area. And I remember I kind of made myself a deal. I said, if you can get to the point where you are consistently shooting scores in the 70s with these crap golf clubs that you went and bought, we'll go get fitted and we'll go do this thing right. And we're gonna really try to get better. So I did. And like, I think it was like 2009, I went in and got fitted and got a new set of clubs. And I mean, I went all out. I mean, I got fitted for all of it. And, left Hawaii in 2010, went to Fort Campbell, and really when I was at Fort Campbell there in Kentucky, that's probably when I became an avid golfer. Like I was really grinding and trying to get better and putting in some practice and playing a lot of golf. And um, that's where I played on the All Army golf team the first time in 2013, and then came here to Fort Benning. The time that I've spent here at Fort Benning, I've been an instructor most of the time I've been here, so the schedule's not quite as strenuous as it is in a normal Army unit. And and got to play a lot of golf here. And so yeah, I think probably over the last maybe 10 years or so, I've become an avid golfer. But it didn't really start out that way. It started out with just I wanted to be one of the guys, man. I wanted to be hanging out with and doing what my buddies were doing. So
Yes, that's why I think golf's is probably one of the best, if not the best sport ever. Because me and my dad, and my brother, we could do golf trips now. And he's getting up in age, and he joined a country club when I was 11, or roughly about 10 years old. A little club here at Beaverbrook Country Club in Knoxville, Tennessee, because he wanted his kids to. He wanted to play more golf, and he knew if he got his kids playing golf, then my mom would let him go play more golf. So, so now, almost nearly 30 years later, we're still playing golf with him just like we did back then, which is pretty amazing. So is it kind of bittersweet, the hanging up the going into retirement with basically a life that you know more about that life than you do about civilian life? Is that kind of bittersweet, or are you ready for it to
so
move on?
I was at the golf course this morning, and one of my buddies asked me, now that I mean I'm like 3 weeks away, I'm going to sign out on leave and never look back. And he asked me the same question. He asked me if it was bittersweet. And I told him no. I said it's just sweet, man. 20 years is a long time to do anything, and look, I've got buddies that are still in that have been in for 22, 24, 26 years, whatever, and I don't know how they do it. So I guess there are some aspects of it I'm going to miss. One of the things that I'm excited about, going and being a freshman and being 39 years old is, these last 6 or 7 years here at Fort Benning, as an instructor, it's been my job to kind of mentor and train kids that are in that 18 to 20, maybe 21 age group, uh, recently graduated high school, or maybe they had fiddled around a little bit and didn't know what they were going to do and join the Army, 19, 20 years old, whatever. And so I'm going to go from doing that and into the college golf thing. And I'm going to get a chance to be around that age group again. Like all the other guys that I'm going to be playing golf with are in that 18 to 22 age range. And so it's going to be fun to be the teammate and to play golf with those guys. It's also going to be fun, maybe not so much from a golf standpoint, but just from a life standpoint, to be able to mentor those guys and kind of keep that role, because that's the part that I'm going to miss, is being around those young guys. And I think, being 39 years old, like there are days that I wake up and everything's sore and I don't feel like getting out of bed necessarily, back hurts or knees hurt or whatever. But those guys, they'll keep you young. That's what I've learned in these last few years in the Army is, you go out and do PT with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds, and there's something in you that says, I'm not going to let these kids beat me. And so I think, being the 39-year-old freshman, and I think being around those young guys will keep me a little bit young and kind of keep me hungry, keep me working hard.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool that you get to your direction in life is changing, but at the same time you're going to be able to do what you wanted, what you love to do already, and with the kids and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely going to be a different life. I would have to imagine 'cause I remember how immature I was at 18 and 19 years old, but if you're used to being around those guys already, then sky's the limit. I think you will find out that, or you will learn pretty quickly that there you're in a different, but you're going to be in a different kind of spectrum, right? The kids' mindset's going to be different. They're going to be thinking how hard it is that they got to go out and hit balls in the rain instead of crawling through mud in full gear, right? So, but
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about your I guess recruiting process, or how'd you end up at Christian Brothers University in Memphis, Tennessee? How that come about?
I'll tell you, it was. It's been almost a year now since all that really started. I think what I had thought about doing before the college golf thing became an option, or before I knew it was an option, I had looked into the PGAM program, the golf management program, and I knew that whatever I did after college, that I wanted it to be golf related, and I wanted to kind of to be in that industry in some way, shape, or fashion. And so I looked into that program. I think there are like 18 schools around the country that offer it. And I was looking really hard at Mississippi State, and then a couple of places there in North Carolina. I think like it's like Methodist and Campbell, and there are a couple of places that have the program there. And so I'm from North Carolina. Thought about maybe going back there and doing it. And I remember in 2019, I was playing the Armed Forces Championship, and I was playing with a Marine. I wish I could tell you his. I don't remember his name or anything, but we were just kind of chatting during our round and during our walk, and he was kind of coming up close to retirement, and we were talking about that stuff. And he asked me what I was going to do, and I told him, and he said, "I think they'll let you play college golf while you do that." And I kind of laughed it off, and I said, I'll be like 39 when I retire, man. I don't know if 39-year-old guys can play college golf. And so after the round, we talked about it some more, and he was like, I'm pretty sure there are like some waivers or something for like military service or whatever. And so I looked into it, and I found a guy named Tim Frisbee, who played football at South Carolina. So Tim retired from the Army after 20 years, and then he walked onto the football team at South Carolina. I want to say in like 2004 is when he walked on, played for Lou Holtz. And so I read about his story a little bit, and then I started kind of digging in, man. Like I was on the NCAA's website, and there are a lot of rules and stuff. Man, that rule book is big, but I dug my way through it, and I found what I was looking for, and I said, holy crap, man, I've got eligibility. Like I can actually go do this. And so I started sending emails to some golf coaches here in the area, like Columbus State is 15 minutes from my front door, and sent an email to them and a couple other places like around home in North Carolina. And the responses that I got back from those emails were nice responses or whatever, but everybody kind of said the same thing in a roundabout way. They all thought I was nuts. And so I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know how to get anybody's attention. It's hard. Like the tournaments that I was playing in aren't really tournaments that college coaches are coming and recruiting guys. Like I can't play in the junior stuff like most of those guys are or whatever. And so I got in touch with a guy at Golf Week named Lance Ringler, and I just asked him. I said, I don't know what to do. I said, maybe you've got some ideas. He covers college golf over there. And he hit me back a little while later, and he said, what if we just write a story about what you're trying to do? And I said, yeah, let's do it, man. It can't hurt. So Golf Week did a story, and that story came out like August the 14th or the 16th or something like that. And over the course of the next like 48 to 72 hours, I had like 40 or 50 golf coaches that had gotten in touch with me and wanted to chat and see what I was doing. And Coach Bryce was one of them at Christian Brothers. And so once I had some coaches that were interested and I thought there was going to be some opportunity there, I knew that signing day fell on Veterans Day. So I had kind of decided like I wanted to commit, and I wanted to decide where I was going before that, because I thought it'd be cool to do that on Veterans Day. But then I started playing really bad golf. Like I went and played some tournaments and posted some bad scores and did not play well. And some of those coaches stopped texting and stopped calling, and I could tell they were losing a little bit of interest. And so Coach Bryce wasn't one of them though. Like he never lost interest. He was really steady through that whole thing. And we had a couple of conversations, and he just told me, he said, look, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself right now because you're getting a little bit of attention or whatever. He said, you just got to relax and go play golf. And after one of those conversations, I had a tournament that weekend. just up the road, right outside of Atlanta. And I called him up. I think it was after the practice round that day. I called him up and I told him that I wanted to go ahead and commit. And I've said this, a couple of times. I think the biggest thing was, it's when you kind of stop believing in yourself a little bit, which I think I had there for a little stretch of time. It's a big deal when somebody still believes in you and you don't have that belief in yourself necessarily. And that was the feeling that I got with him. I got to go up and do my visit at Christian Brothers back in like early March, I think it was, and the campus was awesome. Everybody that I've been in contact with up there, all the advisors, all those folks, man, they're just good people. And I fell in love with the place. It was one of those deals, like we went up that weekend and checked it out and it was great. I love Memphis. I've started watching, like I remember, toward the end of the basketball season, I was watching the Memphis Grizzlies and seeing how they were doing. And, I'm kind of ready to get up there and get in the middle of all of it. So yeah, I mean, that's how I ended up there. It was a situation where I just felt really comfortable with Coach Bryce. He's a couple of years older than I am. I think he's like 43. And I think there were some of those situations where there were younger coaches that were maybe in their late 20s, early 30s. And, maybe they're at different places in their career. Maybe not willing to go out on a limb for a 39-year-old dude that's about to retire from the Army. Coach Bryce was. And, one of the things that we talk about all the time in the military is loyalty. And, he demonstrated that, over and over through the recruiting process, if you will. And so, I can go play for a guy that's going to be loyal to me. I'm going to go and I'm going to play my tail off for him.
That's a great story, man. Yeah, Memphis also, man, home of barbecue, right? Memphis barbecue.
Man, I did some good eating while I was up there that weekend. It was great.
Yeah. Another cool thing, man, you'll be getting, going to Christian Brothers, you'll be able to, you'll be, coming into the fold of the Tennessee Golf Association. And I want to go ahead and first and foremost tell you, probably not a better golf association ran than the state of Tennessee. The guys that down there at the golf house in Franklin do a great job. A lot of great tournaments within that. Hope to see you in some of those. And if you're ever in the Knoxville area, man, reach out, or if you want any connections with them, I can reach out to them for you, introduce you to them. Some of those guys there. Ever in Knoxville, you want to play some golf, hit me up, man. It's just about 5.5 hours away from where you'll be. So,
absolutely. Darren Reese, he was one of the folks that reached out to me after I signed at Christian Brothers, and man, I got a really warm welcome from the folks in Tennessee, especially there in Memphis. But yeah, Darren reached out to me. Rachel Heck, who is from Memphis and is now playing golf at Stanford, like the day that we did the signing day stuff on Veterans Day, she reached out and she said, hey, during the summer, let's get together and let's play some golf or whatever. I'm not really looking forward to playing an NCAA national champion. I don't know how well that's going to go for me, but yeah, I got a lot of folks up there in Tennessee, man. It was really cool to have so many folks reach out after I signed to play there. I'm looking forward to getting up there. I follow all their stuff on Twitter and Instagram and every tournament they do up there, the golf house, and even like the I think it's the Tennessee, the junior.
Sned's tour. They got Sned's tour.
Yeah, all that stuff just looks really well done. And don't get me wrong, the folks here in Alabama and Georgia, they do a really good job, and I've enjoyed participating. But yeah, I'm excited about getting to Tennessee and getting up there and playing against some of the. Well, obviously trying to play the Tennessee Amateur, but I get up for the mid-am. I love when I get a chance to play against guys that are my age, so I'm looking forward to that one too.
Yeah, they even got they got a mid-am 4-ball we just added to the state this past year, so yeah, it's exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So just want to first congratulate you on your journey through and being able to put that part of your life behind you, retire and your new congratulate your new journey here, freshman at Christian Brothers University and playing tournament collegiate golf and lastly, Like I said, if anything come through Knoxville, you want to play any golf, you want to go to a UT football game, you let me know. We'll make it happen. And man, thanks for coming on. J_Shuskey1 on Twitter. Is that right?
Yep, it's the same thing on Twitter, Instagram. That's J_Shuskey1.
Well, man, thanks for coming on, number one, and in the future, you know, anytime you want to come on, you just reach out to me. You're on the show, okay, buddy? I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Man.
Love your story, Barstool Athletic person here. Congratulations on all of it, man. It's a great story.
Man, what a great interview that was with Jonathan. Like I said, guys, you like what you heard, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do. Jonathan Shuskey, can't wait to see what you do in the future as a collegiate golfer and just as a man, father, everything. Highly respect you. Can't wait to play golf with you soon, man. So thanks, everybody, for listening. This is the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast, brought to you by Rotoballer.com.
I've already hit 3 in the lake. It's gone.